Today's class will be given by His Grace Shivananda Prabhuji on Srimad Bhagavatam 4.4.34. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, you are there on the call?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavas Pranam. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to your spiritual master. All glories to
Thank
all.
you so much, Prabhuji, for giving your association. You can take over, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this morning I was asked to speak upon Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, Chapter 4, verse number 34. So, usually I chant some prayers before I give Bhagavatam class. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat. Before uttering this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we offer our respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. And I also offer my very humble and very respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who has very kindly translated and commented upon this Srimad Bhagavatam for our benefit. Nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utam shloke bhakti bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance at the Srimad Bhagavatam class and by rendering of service to the pure devotees, everything that is inauspicious within the heart is practically destroyed to nil. And loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental verses, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. So this morning, we're reading from Canto 4, The Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter number 4, Sati Quits Her Body, and text number 34. And this is the last verse in the chapter. So after we read the translation purport and then discuss somewhat, we can have a chapter review, and we can also have a chapter preview for the next chapter, so that you can so that we can all be kind of like aware of what's coming up. So the verse is Tar alat yudai sarve pramata saha guyaka hanyamana disho bejur ushadbir brahmatejasa. Translation: When the Ribu demigods attacked the ghost and guyakas with half-burned fuel from the Jagya fire, all these attendants of Sati fled in different directions and disappeared. This was possible simply because of Brahma Tejas, Brahminical power. So Srila Prabhupada's purport to this verse reads, the word Brahma Tejasa used in this verse is significant. In those days, Brahmanas were so powerful that simply by desiring and by chanting a Vedic mantra, they could accomplish very wonderful effects. But in the present age of degradation, there are no such Brahmanas. According to the Pancharatrika system, in this age, the entire population is supposed to consist of Shudras because the Brahminical culture has been lost. But if anyone displays the signs of understanding Krishna consciousness, he should be accepted according to Vaishnava Smriti regulations as a prospective Brahmana and should be given all facilities to achieve the highest perfection. The most magnanimous gift of Lord Chaitanya's is that the highest perfection of life is available in this fallen age if one simply adopts the process of chanting Hare Krishna, which is able to to bring about the fulfillment of all activities in self-realization. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th canto, 4th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Sati Quits Her Body. So I'll chant the Mangalacharana prayers before I begin class. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Bishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya evacha Pattitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namani, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pacharne, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskachadasatarne. So here we're seeing what happens after Sati left her body and the soldiers of Lord Shiva attack. And we'll be seeing in the next chapter all kinds of destruction going on. So the idea, the point that Srila Prabhupada is making in this purport is that Brahma Tejas, Srila Prabhupada very often picks out different parts of a verse and mentions that they're significant. So he's mentioning here that Brahma Tejasa is significant in this verse. And Prabhupada is mentioning here that in those days the Brahmanas were very powerful, and by chanting certain mantras they could accomplish very wonderful effects. But unfortunately in this age, the age of Kali Yuga, there are no such Brahmanas who are able to do that. And so also in this age, as Prabhupada mentions in the Pancharatrika system, the whole entire population consisting of Sudras. So, of course, Kalo Sudra Sambhava is the verse from the Vedic scriptures that means that in the Kali Yuga, practically everyone is Shudra, lower class. Some of us are probably much lower than Shudras, because some of us are like Lechas and Yavanas. That's what my position was, hopefully is not anymore, but it was before I became a devotee. And so the idea is that we are working on becoming Krishna conscious. We're working on becoming Brahmanas. We're working on becoming free from the influence of the material nature. Material nature consists of goodness, passion, and ignorance. And then, as Prabhupada, not just Prabhupada, as Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, he says that according to these three modes, that he's created the 4 different orders of life, and due to the influence of the different modes of material nature, one is a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, or something like that. And it's considered that the Brahmanas, they're considered to be in the mode of goodness, the Kshatriyas are in the mode of passion, the Vaishyas are in the mixed mode of passion and ignorance, and the Shudras are considered to be in ignorance. And the other classifications are Mlechas and Yavanas, which is not very glorious situation, dog eaters and things like that. And most people in this age are very low class. So the whole process of Krishna consciousness, the whole thing which Lord Chaitanya, Prabhupada mentions, especially Lord Chaitanya, that he can offer the highest perfection of life by chanting Hare Krishna. And so this is what you and I are all busy doing. We're trying to chant Hare Krishna. We're trying to chant Hare Krishna nicely. We're trying to make an endeavor to get free from the modes of material nature, come to the platform of being Brahmanas, and then transcending that to come to the stage of Shuddha Sattva, or pure goodness, and like that. So you and I are now engaged in the process of sadhana bhakti, and we're hoping to come to the stage of spontaneous devotional service. We're in the platform now of performing regular devotional service, whereby we become purified. We're chanting regularly and deity worship and all these different things that are there in the process of Krishna consciousness. And the idea is that we are becoming purified by these activities. And becoming purified means giving up the influence, or not just giving up, but also transcending the influence of the modes of material nature upon us. Now, some of us may think, I'm a Vaishya, I'm a Sudra, I'm this, I'm that, so many different things. We may think like that. But the idea is that you and I are all meant to transcend the modes of material nature and come to the platform of goodness, and come to beyond the platform of goodness to Shuddha Sattva, where there's no influence of the modes of material nature upon us. So we may have a certain conception of who we are and what we are, but the idea is that we've all, not all of us, but many of us have taken initiation from a bona fide spiritual master, and we're chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, and this is the purification for getting free from the influences of the modes of material nature and coming to Shuddha Sattva, pure platform, coming to the platform of spontaneous devotional service. So this is what we're working on, this is what we're attempting, and Prabhupada says here in the purport that but if anyone displays the signs of understanding Krishna consciousness, he should be accepted according to Vaishnava Smriti regulations as a prospective Brahmana and should be given all facilities to achieve the highest perfection. So that means you and I who've taken up the process of Krishna consciousness, who are hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and who are chanting Hare Krishna and engaging in deity worship, engaging so many different processes. And there are 9 different processes in devotional service. There's hearing, chanting, remembering, deity worship, so many different processes. So if we're taking up one or more of these processes, we can also hear the chanting of Hare Krishna. We can speak about Krishna consciousness to others. We can preach. We can also engage in the process of deity worship because it's very purifying. And so in this way, if we're engaged, then we are considered to be prospective Brahmanas. And the idea that Prabhupada is putting forward here is that these Brahmanas in the previous age, they were very powerful, and they were able to chase away all the ghosts and guyakas that were attacking the sacrifice. So the idea is that you and I should all take up the process of devotional service and engage in the process of devotional service and become purified, and come to the platform of Shuddha-sattva, come to the beyond the modes of material nature. So this is what this is our goal, and this is, as Prabhupada mentions here, is able to bring about the fulfillment of all activities in self-realization. So the chanting of Hare Krishna, this is very important, and this is very effective also for becoming perfected. And so you and I need to all engage in doing that, and we also need to help others to come to that platform also, because we're working towards becoming what's called the second-class devotee of the Lord. And the second-class devotee of the Lord, he recognizes four principles. He recognizes the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and he tries to reawaken his dormant devotional service, his dormant relationship with Krishna. He sees the devotees of the Lord, and he develops friendship with them. He sees the innocent persons, and he tries to help them, encourage them to develop their dormant Krishna consciousness. And he sees the atheists and agnostics and others like that, and he avoids their association. So this is we're recommended to come to the platform of being second-class devotees, and we coming to the first-class devotee platform. This is Krishna's kindness, Krishna's mercy upon us, and we may come to that platform by Krishna's kind blessings and by our endeavors in devotional service. So this is what we're working towards, and you and I may also become potent and develop Brahma-tejas and become powerful and like that. But the idea, of course, is that we should try to develop our lost relationship with Lord Krishna. So I was thinking that we should read over the verses of the chapter to see what you have all been hearing about in this chapter, and in that way we make a chapter review. So this is chapter number 4, Sati quits her body. The sage Maitreya said, Lord Shiva was silent after speaking to Sati, seeing her between decisions. Sati was very much anxious to see her relatives at her father's house, but at the same time she was afraid of Lord Shiva's warning. Her mind unsettled, she moved in and out of the room as a swing moves this way and that. Sati felt very sorry at being forbidden to go see her relatives at her father's house, and due to affection for them, tears fell from her eyes. Shaking and very much afflicted, she looked at her uncommon husband, Lord Shiva, as if she were going to blast him with her vision. Thereafter Sati left her husband, Lord Shiva, who had given her half his body due to affection. Breathing very heavily because of anger and bereavement, she went to the house of her father. This less intelligent act was due to her being a weak woman. When they saw Sati leaving alone very rapidly, thousands of Lord Shiva's disciples, headed by Maniman and Madha, quickly followed her with his bull, Nandi, in front and accompanied by the Yakshas. She then reached her father's house where the sacrifice was being performed and entered the arena where everyone was chanting the Vedic hymns. The great sages, brahmanas, and demigods were all assembled there, and there were many sacrificial animals as well as pots made of clay, stone, gold, grass, and skin, which were all requisite for the sacrifice. When Sati with her followers reached the arena, because all the people assembled there were afraid of Daksha, none of them received her well. No one welcomed her but her mother and sisters, who with tears in their eyes and with glad faces welcomed her and talked with her very pleasingly. Although she was received by her sisters and mother, she did not reply to their words of reception, and although she was offered a seat and presents, she did not accept anything, for her father neither talked with her nor welcomed her by asking about her welfare. Present in the arena of sacrifice, Sati saw that there were no oblations for her husband, Lord Shiva. Next, she realized that not only had her father failed to invite Lord Shiva, but when he saw Lord Shiva's exalted wife, Daksha did not receive her either. Thus she became greatly angry, so much so that she looked at her father as if she were going to burn him with her eyes. The followers of Lord Shiva, the ghosts, were ready to injure or kill Daksha, but Sati stopped them by her order. She was very angry and sorrowful, and in that mood she began to condemn the process of sacrificial fruitive activities and persons who are very proud of such unnecessary and troublesome sacrifices. She especially condemned her father, speaking against him in the presence of all. The blessed goddess said, "Lord Shiva is the most beloved of all living entities. He has no rival. No one is very dear to him, and no one is his enemy. No one but you could be envious of such a universal being who is free from all enmity. Twice-born Daksha, a man like you can simply find fault in the qualities of others. Lord Shiva, however, not only finds no faults with others' qualities, but if someone has a little good quality, he magnifies it greatly. Unfortunately, you have found fault with such a great soul. It is not wonderful for persons who have accepted the transient material body as the self to engage always in deriding great souls. Such envy on the part of materialistic persons is very good, because that is the way they fall down. They are diminished by the dust of the feet of great personalities." Sati continued, "My dear father, you are committing the greatest offense by envying Lord Shiva, whose very name, consisting of two syllables, Shi and Va, purifies one of all sinful activities. His order is never neglected. Lord Shiva is always pure, and no one but you envies him. You are envious of Lord Shiva, who is the friend of all living entities within the three worlds. For the common man, he fulfills all desires, and because of their engagement in thinking of his lotus feet, he also blesses higher personalities who are seeking after Brahmananda, transcendental bliss. Do you think that greater, more respectable personalities than you, such as Lord Brahma, do not know this inauspicious person who goes under the name of Lord Shiva? His associates with the demons in the crematorium. His locks of hair are scattered all over his body. He is garlanded with human skulls and smeared with ashes from the crematorium. But in spite of all these inauspicious qualities, great personalities like Lord Brahma honor him by accepting the flowers offered to his lotus feet and placing them with great respect on their heads." Sati continued, "If one hears an irresponsible person blaspheme the master and controller of religion, one should block his ears and go away if unable to punish him. But if one is able to kill, then one should by force cut out the blasphemer's tongue and kill the offender, and after that one should give up his own life. Therefore I shall no longer bear this unworthy body which has been received from you, who have blasphemed Lord Shiva. If someone has taken food which is poisonous, the best treatment is to vomit. It is better to execute one's own occupational duty than to criticize others. Elevated transcendentalists may sometimes forego the rules and regulations of the Vedas, since they do not need to follow them, just as the demigods travel in space, whereas ordinary men travel on the surface of the earth. In the Vedas, there are directions for two kinds of activities: activities for those who are attached to material enjoyment, and activities for those who are materially detached. In consideration of these two kinds of activities, there are two kinds of people who have different symptoms. If one wants to see two kinds of activities in one person, that is contradictory. But both kinds of activities may be neglected by a person who is transcendentally situated. My dear Father, the opulence we possess is impossible for either you or your flatterers to imagine. For persons who engage in fruitive activities by performing great sacrifices are concerned with satisfying their bodily necessities by eating foodstuff offered as a sacrifice. We can exhibit our opulences simply by desiring to do so. This can be achieved only by great personalities who are renounced, self-realized souls. You are an offender at the lotus feet of Lord Shiva, and unfortunately I have a body produced from yours. I am very much ashamed of our bodily relationship, and I condemn myself because my body is contaminated by a relationship with a person who is an offender at the lotus feet of the greatest personality. Because of our family relationship, when Lord Shiva addresses me as Dakshayani, I at once become morose, and my jolliness and my smile at once disappear. I feel very much sorry that my body, which is just like a bag, has been produced by you. I shall therefore give it up. Maitreya, the sage, told Vidura, O annihilator of enemies, while thus speaking to her father in the arena of sacrifice, Sati sat down on the ground and faced north. Dressed in saffron garments, she sanctified herself with water and closed her eyes to absorb herself in the process of mystic yoga. First of all, she sat in the required sitting posture, and then she carried the life air upwards and placed it in the position of equilibrium near the navel. Then she raised her life air, mixed with intelligence, to the heart, and then gradually towards the pulmonary passage, and from there to between her eyebrows. Thus, in order to give up her body, which had been so respectfully and affectionately seated on the lap of Lord Shiva, who was worshipped by great sages and saints, Sati, due to anger towards her father, began to meditate on the fiery air within the body. Sati concentrated all her meditation on the holy lotus feet of her husband, Lord Shiva, who is the supreme spiritual master of all the world. Thus she became completely cleansed of all taints of sin and quit her body in a blazing fire by meditation on the fiery elements. When Sati annihilated her body in anger, there was a tumultuous roar all over the universe. Why had Sati, the wife of the most respectable demigod, Lord Shiva, quit her body in such a manner? It was astonishing that Daksha, who was Prajapati, the maintainer of all living entities, was so disrespectful to his own daughter Sati, who was not only chaste but also a great soul, that she gave up her body because of his neglect. Daksha, who is so hard-hearted that he is unworthy to be a Brahmana, will gain extensive ill fame because of his offenses to his daughter, because of not having prevented her death, and because of his great envy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. While people were talking among themselves about the wonderful voluntary death of Sati, the attendants who had come with her readied themselves to kill Daksha with their weapons. They came forward forcibly, but Bhrigu Muni saw the danger, and offering oblations into the southern side of the sacrificial fire, immediately uttered mantric hymns from the Yajurveda, by which the destroyers of yogic performances could be killed immediately. When Bhrigu Muni offered oblations in the fire, immediately many thousands of demigods named Ribus became manifested. All of them were powerful, having achieved strength from Soma, the moon. When the Ribu demigods attacked the ghosts and Guyakas with half-burned fuel from the Yajna fire, all these attendants of Sati fled in different directions and disappeared. This was possible simply because of Brahma Tejas, Brahminical power. So that was the verse for today. And I think we have time to read the preview of the next chapter to find out what's happening. So this is a very violent scene. This is, you were reading Srimad Bhagavatam and expecting something very peaceful. Well, you're not going to get it in this particular section of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is violence and personified. So I'll read give you a little preview of the next chapter. Maitreya said, when Lord Shiva heard from Narada that Sati, his wife, was now dead because of Prajapati Daksha's insult to her and that his soldiers had been driven away by the Ribu demigods, he became greatly angry. Thus Lord Shiva, being extremely angry, pressed his lips to his teeth and immediately snatched from his head a strand of hair which blazed like electricity or fire. He stood up at once, laughing like a madman, and dashed the hair to the ground. A fearful black demon, as high as the sky and as bright as 3 suns combined, was thereby created. His teeth very fearful, and the hairs on his head like burning fire. He had thousands of arms, equipped with various weapons, and he was garlanded with heads of men. When that gigantic demon asked with folded hands, "What shall I do, my lord?" Lord Shiva, who was known as Bhutanatha, directly ordered, "Because you are born from my body, you are the chief of all my associates. Therefore, kill Daksha and his soldiers at the sacrifice." Maitreya continued, "My dear Vidura, that black person was the personified anger of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he was prepared to execute the orders of Lord Shiva. Thus, considering himself capable of coping with any power offered against him, he circumambulated Lord Shiva. Many other soldiers of Lord Shiva followed the fierce personality in a tumultuous uproar. He carried a great trident, fearful enough to kill even death, and on his legs he wore bangles which seemed to roar. At that time, all the persons assembled in the sacrificial arena, the priests, the chief of all sacrificial performance, and the brahmanas and their wives, wondered where the darkness was coming from. Later, they could understand that it was a dust storm, and all of them were full of anxiety. Conjecturing on the origin of the storm, they said, "There is no wind blowing, and no cows are passing, nor is it possible that this dust storm could be raised by plunderers, for there is still the strong King Barhi who would punish them. Where is this dust storm coming? Where is this dust storm blowing from? Is the dissolution of the planet now to occur?" Parshuti, the wife of Daksha, along with the other women assembled, became very anxious and said, "This danger has been created by Daksha because of the death of Sati, who, even though completely innocent, quit her body as her sisters looked on. At the time of dissolution, Lord Shiva's hair is scattered, and he pierces the rulers of the different directions with his trident. He laughs and dances proudly, scattering their hands like flags, as thunder scatters the clouds all over the world. The gigantic black man bared his fearful teeth. By the movement of his brows, he scattered the luminaries all over the sky, and he covered them with strong, piercing effulgence. Because of the misbehavior of Daksha, even Lord Brahma, Daksha's father, could not have been saved from the great exhibition of anger. While all the people talked amongst themselves, Daksha saw dangerous omens from all sides, from the earth and from the sky. My dear Vidura, all the followers of Lord Shiva surrounded the arena of sacrifice. They were of short stature and were equipped with various kinds of weapons. Their bodies appeared to be like those of sharks, blackish and yellowish. They ran all around the sacrificial arena and thus began to create disturbances. Some of the soldiers pulled down the pillars which were supporting the pandal of sacrifice. Some of them entered the female quarters. Some began destroying the sacrificial arena, and some entered the kitchen and the residential quarters. They broke all the pots made for use in the sacrifice, and some of them began to extinguish the sacrificial fire. Some tore down the boundary line of the sacrificial arena, and some passed urine on the arena. Some blocked the way of the fleeing sages. Some threatened the women assembled there, and some arrested the demigods who were fleeing the pandal. Maniman, one of the followers of Lord Shiva, arrested Bhrigu Muni, and Virabhadra, the black demon, arrested Prajapati Daksha. Another follower, who was named Chandesha, arrested Pusha. Nandishwara arrested the demigod Bhaga. There was a continuous shower of stones, and all the priests and other members assembled at the sacrifice were put into immense misery. For fear of their lives, they dispersed in different directions. Virabhadra tore off the mustache of Bhrigu, who was offering the sacrificial oblations with his hands in the fire. Virabhadra immediately caught Bhaga, who had been moving his eyebrows during Bhrigu's cursing of Lord Shiva, and out of great anger thrust him to the ground and forcibly put out his eyes. Just as Baladev knocked out the teeth of Dantavakra, the king of Kalinga, during the gambling match at the marriage ceremony of Aniruddha, Virabhadra knocked out the teeth of both Daksha, who had shown them while cursing Lord Shiva, and Pusha, who by smiling sympathetically had also shown his teeth. Then Virabhadra, the giant-like personality, sat on the chest of Daksha and tried to separate his head from his body with sharp weapons, but was unsuccessful. He tried to cut the head of Daksha with hymns as well as weapons, but still it was hard to cut even the surface of the skin of Daksha's head. Thus Virabhadra was exceedingly bewildered. Then Virabhadra saw the wooden device in the sacrificial arena by which the animals were to have been killed. He took the opportunity of this facility to behead Daksha. Upon seeing the action of Virabhadra, the party of Lord Shiva was pleased and cried out joyfully, and all the bhutas, ghosts, and demons who had come made a tumultuous sound. On the other hand, the brahmanas in charge of the sacrifice cried out in grief at the death of Daksha. Virabhadra then took the head and with great anger threw it into the southern side of the sacrificial fire, offering it as an oblation. In this way, the followers of Lord Shiva devastated all the arrangements for sacrifice. After setting fire to the whole arena, they departed for their master's abode, Kailash. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th canto, 5th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Frustration of the Sacrifice of Daksha. Whew. I'm telling you, this is really something. I would like to see Hollywood make this into a movie, and with all the special effects they would have. This would be amazing to see. It's amazing to read. What to see, but amazing to see what was going on here in this section of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it is amazing. It's amazing to read. It's amazing to hear. It's amazing situation that took place many thousands of years ago as a result of Daksha's envy and dislike of Lord Shiva. And we should all be very careful and very cautious about respecting Lord Shiva, and remember what happened here many thousands of years ago. It was a terrible situation. It was just amazing, powerful, and violent, and boy, it's just like fire coming out of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So I will stop there and see if anyone has anything that they'd like to say or ask or question or correct or mention or have any realizations and understandings.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam says, wow.
Yeah, wow. It's quite something. Listen to the whole translations. It's really like a movie. It's like a, yeah. And the way you did it is so dramatic, and we all have to be, basically be pulled out of that when you stopped to show you're in some other world.
and so many lessons to be learned.
So many lessons to learn, so many visions to meditate on and feel.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Very, very wonderful reading, and we can't, we are just groping for words to say thank you to you. And I request if anybody has any comments or questions, please go ahead. And from my part, if you could share any realization or pastimes with Srila Prabhupada at the end, we are very thankful to you for that.
Okay. Well, let's first of all see if anyone has anything that they want to say or question or ask. Or
Hare Krishna, Jai Shivananda Prabhu, Dandvat Pranam, Koti Koti Dandvat Pranam to your seva. Yes, Mataji, you are right. We just see the movie. That's what potential.
Just reading this is also like I'm getting a chance to read it, and I'm like, I'm fired up.
When we get the pure devotee association Prabhuji, we feel it. We also read at home, but that is not potency because we are very fallen. Please, Prabhuji, continue Srila Prabhupada's realization, please.
Okay.
Dandvat Pranam, all the Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev.
Usually whenever I give class, somebody asks me to speak some activities that I had with Srila Prabhupada. I was fortunate to be able to serve Srila Prabhupada in Montreal and in Hamburg, in Frankfurt when Prabhupada came in '74 to the castle there that we had. And then got to see Srila Prabhupada in London. 1 year, Srila Prabhupada had been ill. And then they had a Ratha Yatra in London. And it was a big Ratha Yatra. And it ended up in the central place where the Nelson column is. And following that, the newspaper mentioned that the Hare Krishna festival rivaled the Nelson's column. If you've ever been to London, you may have gone to this particular place where the Nelson's column is. It's very tall. It's offering great respect to Lord Nelson. And so the newspaper said that this was rivaled to... But Prabhupada had been sick for some time, and the devotees were very concerned about Srila Prabhupada. And I don't know exactly what happened, but Srila Prabhupada went to the Rath site. And then when the Ratha Yatra started, Srila Prabhupada didn't get... Usually Srila Prabhupada would sit on the cart of Subhadra and go through the Ratha Yatra in that way. But this year, Srila Prabhupada stood up, and not only did he stand up, so he danced the whole way from where it started to where it ended. And then he spoke in this particular place. I can't remember the name of the place, some square there where the Nelson column is. But it was the devotees. I did some service at the festival site, but the devotees came running saying, Prabhupada danced through the whole Ratha Yatra. So, it was amazing because Srila Prabhupada had previously been ill, and so then Srila Prabhupada danced the whole way with the Ratha Yatra. So this was an amazing activity by Srila Prabhupada, amazing. I didn't get to see Srila Prabhupada dancing, but I heard it from the devotees, and so this was very amazing. One time I also was able to be present with Srila Prabhupada in his room when he was speaking to a nun. There was a nun, this was in London, and there's this, I have a picture here in my my home here, of this particular picture, and Srila Prabhupada is speaking behind his desk. There's a nun present, and she's very listening to Srila Prabhupada very attentively. I was present, and Suchandra was present, Bhakti Bhushan Swami, and Rebhati Nandan Swami was present, and other persons. And Prabhupada spoke very wonderfully with this nun, and he spoke about chanting the holy names, and this particular nun was also chanting the names of Lord Jesus. And so he spoke to her, and it was very instructive and very nice how Srila Prabhupada spoke to her, and she was very much affected by Srila Prabhupada's presence and by Srila Prabhupada's purity. And Srila Prabhupada sometimes had some very nice things to say about Christians, and then sometimes he had things to say that were very strong. And he would, speak about this particular nun was a vegetarian also. But sometimes Srila Prabhupada would speak very strongly with Christians about eating meat and killing animals, and that the animals have a soul also. So our understanding, of course, is that if there's consciousness present there, that means that there's a soul present. So we're very careful and very cautious in dealing with other living entities, but in dealing with Christians, Srila Prabhupada was very strong sometimes. And sometimes he was also very kind and very appreciative of different persons. Especially there was a monastery that Srila Prabhupada went to, was from St. Francis. And Prabhupada asked him about the activities of St. Francis, and then Prabhupada said, "This is pure devotion. This is a pure devotee." I think Prabhupada considered St. Francis to be a pure devotee. So Srila Prabhupada would sometimes and there was another, and when Prabhupada came to the castle in Germany, the Schloss Rettershof, we had rented this castle. There was also a Christian Franciscan priest, Father Emmanuel, who came. And Father Emmanuel was a vegetarian, and he would chant on beads also. And he was Prabhupada very much appreciated him and was very kind to him also. So that was how Srila Prabhupada sometimes behaved with Christians when the Christians were actually following. And I had personal experience when I was in Berlin. One time we had a young man come to our services that we would, we'd have evening programs, and he didn't reveal at the time that he was a Christian. He was a teacher at a Christian school. And I think that the Christians are very careful about who they choose to be the teachers of their children. So he was a very devout Christian, and we spoke to him, and he went away from our service, our preaching to him, and he decided to become a vegetarian to see if there would be a difference in his Christ consciousness. And then he came back after some time, and he said to us, what you said is really a fact. He said, I decided to become a vegetarian and see how it was, and I found that my Christ consciousness increased by that activity. So we see here that there are some Christians who are very pious and very willing to listen and practice, and there are some who are very how shall we say, fanatic, and who won't listen very well. But there are some Christians who will listen very nicely and will actually put into practice the process of Krishna consciousness in their lives as Christians. and they will actually make advancement very nicely. So those were some experiences that I had with Srila Prabhupada and Christians, and I think I will stop there. And let's hope that sometime this section from the Srimad Bhagavatam will be made into a movie by some of our Krishna conscious producers, directors, video personalities. There was a very wonderful movie that was made by Vishaka's husband, Yadubara, about Srila Prabhupada. So, well, let's hope sometime that all these wonderful activities from Srimad Bhagavatam appear in the form of a movie. And we can go to the movies and really see things nicely. All right, I'll stop there. Vanchakalpatrubhyascha kripasindhu bhaevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.